Welcome. I'm your host and GM, Ben Moxon, and today I'm doing a little short behind the scenes video just to talk about my process when I'm preparing this session. So at this point we have run character creation, and we have done world building. So we know we're in this world of corporations that behave like gods. We know that we have magic mysteriously reappearing, and we have three characters named Brad Muscles, Anders Rowe, and Arkwise Turbatine. The first thing you can tell just from those names is that I have been handed a loaded gun with regard to fish-related names, and I'm going to open up with that like you wouldn't believe. There's going to be regrets. Or possibly not. It depends how much you enjoy stupid fish names. Suffice to say, I probably enjoy them too much. Now, at the end of character building, we got to the point where it was clear that we have a group who are going to be taking part in a reality TV show. As GM, that gives me some great opportunities, but it also has some downsides. And the first real downside is that I have hardly ever watched reality TV. I do not know what goes on in it. It's not for me. I don't like it. I don't care for it. So this is going to be what I imagine reality TV to be like, which is quite different from what reality TV is like. The flip side of that is that this is a very constrained opening. And one of the things that's really fun to do and important for your opening session is to set things up so we aren't inundated with characters, but that the characters we see and the locations we see tell us something about the world. So I anticipate the first character we meet to be the producer who is running the show. And this producer's name is Derry Smolt. They have greying hair, black-rimmed glasses, a kind of worn expression, not looking at anyone in particular, but I guess if I looked in a mirror at any rate, very tired. They're a producer for the company who is making this show, which is called Satisfying, Content, and they have a lot of previous experience in the field, and their job is to get the team out into the game, give them their final briefing, explain what's up, and push them out the door. This gives me a chance to show what the opening of the game is about. Here's what the stakes are, here's what you need to do, and the first thing they need to do is they need to get to the base for the show, which is going to be a sinister castle. This is where we're playing into the spooky part of the tone that we talked about previously. So my initial intent is that the first thing that we see will be, once they go out the door, will be some kind of physical challenge, something that pushes them a bit. They have to cross this dismal swamp. And I see that as being a process of two steps. First, we're going to have some challenging swamp crossing adventures. And this is going to be an opportunity for the characters to show what they're good at, what they're less good at, and to make some dice rolls and to get into the swing of the game. I anticipate, and because this is going out after the episode, you will probably be able to confirm or deny this, there'll be tomfoolery involved here, probably clowning, maybe some buffoonery. The goal here is to show the characters in action and to put the players at ease with the system of creating scenes, using action points, rolling moves, all these things that are core to the game going forward. I'm not going to confront them with other characters or NPCs to start with. This is going to be environmental first and foremost. But then it will probably evolve into NPCs. I have an idea for a damsel in distress who will turn out to be a witch. The ideas I'm working with here are for a reality TV show. You're working with people who do not consume fantasy media's idea of fantasy media. So there will definitely be some fairy tale type nonsense. There will definitely be some weird Ren Fair ideas about the world. And all of this is happening around our characters. So these encounters will be in character stupid. Out of character, also stupid, but out of character, they're stupid in a way that tells us something about the world. Around halfway through, probably, and this is where I'm planning maybe too far ahead. It's very hard to estimate how long it will take a group to pass a seemingly simple set of challenges. So it's possible that this will not come up in this session. Or it's possible that this will come up and we'll go way past it as well. But the next thing that I want us to do is meet another of the teams. So because of the TV show format, I'm lucky to be restricted in the number of NPCs I have to create and introduce, which means that when you're telling a story, you'll notice that most books and films work with a relatively small number of characters. And that works well in games as well. Here, I'm lucky in that the format limits how many characters we could meet. We can't go off and talk to every villager because there aren't villagers, there's the contestants. And that means I can do a bit more work with preparing each contestant and not have to worry about having a lot of samey NPCs, but maybe have some more distinctive NPCs. So in the game, there will be 4 teams. Teams Alpha, Beta, Delta and Gamma. The characters in them are grouped alphabetically. So the next team we see will be Team Beta. Team Beta features 3 more characters early in the alphabet. At the moment, they're called Barry Kudos, Callie Cooper, and Darad Makaro. These 3 are going to be quite archetypal characters that come from a mix of places. Barry Kudos is kind of my archetypal reality TV character. Strong jaw, heavy stubble, dark brows, just a kind of fake tanned, muscled up goofball. We'll see how that works. Very big opinion of his own abilities. He's another former champion, a little like Brad Muscles. There's room for a rivalry there. Callie is a Cooper. She's one of the 5 Pines Coopers, which just means she's from a village called 5 Pines, about which I have decided nothing as yet, except that she's from there. She's going to be very upbeat, very perky. She's a woodcutter. She will probably have a trademark axe, dungarees, plaid shirt, maybe a baseball cap. And she's already my favourite character. There's a good chance that she'll go far, or that she'll come to a horrible end, because characters I like never get a chance to do anything cool. Then we have Darad Makaro. She is a elegant femme fatale type figure, that hence the French name. Both Darad and Makaro are French names for fish, obviously, but it sounds hella classy. I don't know what she's going to be for, but I wanted to have her in from the start because I thought it was a really fun character archetype. Also, this gives us a counterpoint to our current group where we have 2 female presenting and 1 male presenting character. So that's kind of a another way of balancing things out. So I think that if we get through what I'm expecting, which will be essentially a physical challenge, the witch encounter, and then finally battling an ogre, this will be where they have to join with the other group, or they have the opportunity to join with the other group. And then beyond that, they'll get to the castle. That's definitely a session's worth to me. It may end up being more. I like to start a game of Trilogy with a GM-initiated scene, so everyone will have action points in the first scene, which will be in this dismal swamp. Probably all of these will be in the dismal swamp. The whole thing is in a warehouse-sized soundstage, like a massive soundstage, so it's all going to be very spooky. It's going to be very managed. So it seems everything will be seeming, nothing will be really what it is. But there are also challenges for the magic users because they're going to have cameras on them. How can they use their abilities without the cameras catching them? That's sort of an interesting question for me. So that's what I'm thinking at this start. In terms of how much homework I have to do, I'm going to create an NPC summary for each of these characters. So as yet, if you look in the NPC section of the book, I talk about characters being allies, enemies, or touchstones. As yet, we don't know whether the fellow players will be allies, enemies, or touchstones. Derry Smolt, definitely a touchstone. So I'll be coming up with summaries. Now, in the book, it talks about how I summarise them. Something describe their clothing, something describe their person, and something describe their character. So I've said they've got greying hair and black-rimmed glasses. They look worn, and their character is practical, but they are definitely tired. They've been working long hours in the lead up to this show. And so that's sort of the core summary that I'm giving to Derry. And then I will be recording as the game goes on. I will be adding notes about how they interact with the players so that I have that information. When I look back, I have just a little record next to that NPC, who was rude to them, who was helpful, and how they responded. And that lets me keep the characters consistent. If I make those notes during play or at the end of a session, that lets me keep them consistent. So across the campaign, these NPCs are recognisably the same person. The other thing I might do is make a note of who I'm doing an impression of for that character, because I can't do impressions, but I can consistently do them wrong, which means that if I say this character is going to be voiced by Michael Burke, no one in the world would recognise my Michael Burke impression. But in fact, probably most people in the world don't even remember who Michael Burke is, and that's for the best. But I can remember what that impression sounds like, so I have a quick point to go back to that voice. And that can be a really good way of retaining a character. So that's sort of how much homework I'm doing. And this is going to be quite a homework intensive session because it's the start of the campaign. The characters I'm creating now will hopefully stick around for the next 5-10 sessions. I would expect them to last through the first arc. Certainly all this game show, except for obviously there'll be some elimination process. And we'll be seeing how that elimination goes in a few sessions' time when we get to the first elimination night. And that's going to be how these characters are winnowed away. But to start with, this is giving me enough to do the basics. So hopefully if you're running a game, you are perhaps less constrained. When I said epic fantasy and we immediately ended up with near future technology, it was a curveball, but it has set me up with this nice situation. If we were doing something more traditionally epic fantasy or some kind of isekai story or whatever, I would still want to define a handful of core characters who will be around in the first few sessions, and I want to give them enough colour and range that they're memorable to the players, because if the players remember them, they'll think about going back to them. And also any rivalries or friendships that evolve here are a great opportunity to create meaning and links into the world. The more you can link your characters to the world, especially at the start, the better off you are as a GM. The more you have to apply leverage to, the more the stakes are relevant to your player characters. So just some things to think about there, and I hope that's useful to you.